Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again, narrating another Mr. Ripper video. Today we're going to be talking about horrifying, horrific, evil, vile examples of metagaming. Yep, that's right, metagaming. When you out-of-character know something, and then you apply that out-of-character knowledge to your in-character character. AKA, knowing a trap exists just because you saw your DM put it on the table, but your character doesn't know about it. Yeah, we all hate that. So today, let's explore what is the most horrific example of metagaming you have ever experienced while playing D&D. And feel free to share yours in the comments below. We were playing a silly campaign built around the concept that we were the monstrous humanoids, various orcs, goblins, and such, living on the fringe of an evil human empire. We were rising up to oppose them after years of oppression in a sort of reverse of the stereotypes. My character died in a fun but challenging battle. He was kind of a frontline fighter, so it was par for the course. The players offered to raise him, but I decided I'd rather make a new character and try something different. And we moved forward with a no big deal attitude. My second character was a troll, and the DM instantly had a stigma against him. I built against type, making a troll rogue, a large-sized, hard-to-hide, horror dexterity troll rogue. He was just supposed to be fun and fulfill a need that our party had for somebody to have trap finding, and a couple of rogue skills we needed. I made a joke about my troll disarming traps by just examining them until he made sure they weren't fire or acid, and then setting them off on purpose.
I think I took all the arrows, guys. Watch out for that spear, though. It resets. It's hidden under the panel that's covered with all my blood.
I was far from the most useful member of the party, but my DM just didn't like him, and he made that clear. Every combat encounter for the next 8 months included fire or acid. A nation of evil necromancers were foregoing their necromancy spells to memorize fire-acid evocation spells. No form of magic armor, or weapons, or equipment ever dropped that would be useful to my character, to the point that when I retired him, my total GP value of my equipment was under 5K, while the average party member was over 120K. Eventually, I gave up and retired the guy because I literally could not hurt anything we fought, and every encounter included something that could kill me outright in a single hit. My poor, just-for-fun character had been DM oppressed into uselessness. So, I made a new character, an ultra-min-max turn undead-focused cleric, and started mowing through all his powerful encounters with ease. Now, instead of everybody having fire and acid coincidentally ready to attack my character, we find that every single place we go has an unhollow and desecrate stacked upon every single square of the map for a -8 to turning. I politely pointed out while we raided a temple that Unhollow has such a short duration that literally it was impossible to cast on this entire map and finish before the first squares expired. He insisted that apparently they cast it with the permanency metamagic feat. Blech. It was a really dumb and obvious string of metagaming actions built around trying to intentionally build adventures to deny players the chance to do the thing that they're built to do. If a player min-maxes and you take advantage of them by targeting that min, good for you. That'll teach them not to neglect one facet of their character. If a player min-maxes and you revamp all encounters to make it so that the max they build doesn't work, then they just don't get to play the character that they were interested in playing. If your character doesn't work, it stops being fun. Also, that DM sounded horrible, and I really hope that nobody out there, including you, OP, never ever plays with these types of people again. Horrific is entirely hyperbole, of course. There's nothing literally horrifying about a player using outside knowledge in the game. Well, that's for you to decide, my good chum. The following tale comes to me from a DM who ran the Dragonlance modules. It seems he had one player who liked to read ahead. Now, in the module in question, there's a particular encounter that seems at first blush to be with a dragon. But that turns out to be with merely a wicker puppet with is far less dangerous, and partly intended to fool the characters for a round or two and make the players feel silly. A bit of comic relief to dispel some tension as the characters make their way through the dungeon. Except, this player couldn't keep his mouth shut. Throughout the dungeon, his character somehow knew where the treasure was, how to bypass troublesome encounters, and which way to turn to get through the dungeon in record time. Well, my buddy, the DM, had quite enough of this by the time the PCs reached the Wicker Dragon area. Sure enough, the uncannily accurate character announced that there was nothing to worry about. There was no real dragon present. Haha, except that's not how things turned out. The DM had placed a very real dragon in the room and proceeded to organize a near TPK in order specifically to teach the player a lesson about metagame. And after it was over, he let the players in on it too, explaining that if Mr. Well-Read had simply kept his mouth shut, this encounter would have been a lot easier on the party. The surviving party members dragged their unconscious and bleeding teammates to a storeroom where they could hole up and lick their wounds. Therein, they found crates full of wicker dragon parts, along with a contractor's invoice marked unpaid in bright red ink. My best example of metagaming is more rude than horrific. One player tried to infringe on another player's victory after the other player's character took all the risks. Coincidentally, the Paizo forums on Pathfinder 2nd Edition had been arguing about metagaming this week. So, I posted this story, and one comment pointed out that explanations could be invented about how the intruding character obtained his knowledge legitimately rather than his player listening in on the other player. Metagaming is a character acting on knowledge that the player has, but the character doesn't. So, finding an explanation how the character learned the knowledge justifies it. The Pathfinder 1st Edition module, Palace of Fallen Stars, 5th module, and a 6th module, Adventure Path, intended for the player characters to sneak into the city of Starfall and start fighting their way into the headquarters of their old enemies, the Technic League, in order to find information needed to complete their overarching quest. My clever players did no such thing. All their confrontations with Technic League agents had been under false names. They entered Starfall by simply leaving their obvious high-level gear behind and walking into Starfall under their real identities. They infiltrated, listened, and made contacts to discover the information. Very clever. In the meanwhile, I created side adventures for them. A 13th level Strict Skald named Kiri had created a new identity as a 3rd level ASMR cleric and was helping the poor in the slums. She was the only Strix in the entire country, so her true identity was not a good disguise. She also developed contacts with criminal gangs in the slums. When she foiled an arrest of some impoverished people who broke the law against rooftop gardens, the overreaction of the city guard had led to a riot. The guard force, aided by the Technic League, arrested 25 rioters. They jailed the rioters until they could be sent to the Technic League as slaves. One criminal gang hired Kiri to jailbreak 4 members of their gang who had been arrested as rioters. Kiri asked the rest of the party for help, but almost everyone else was busy with other post-riot activities. The human fighter Keld and his Samsaran wizard cohort Jiran were interested, but they said they would want to try scry and case the jailhouse before risking themselves. Unwilling to wait a day, Kiri proceeded alone, with her tiny Lyrican cohort Tay keeping lookout in an alley where she hid some disguises. It was a simple matter of carefully sneaking into the jail while invisible, using Dimension Door while holding hands through the cell bars with the 4 people to materialize in the alley Tay guarded, and handing them the disguises to cover up their prison clothing. Suddenly, Duran appeared in the alley. He said he had been following Kiri invisibly, and now he wanted to help. I scolded the player for having a character wander around a guarded area without making stealth checks, because he had not told me that Duran followed Kiri. Kiri agreed to make a second jailbreak, with Duran providing more teleportation with his teleportation school abilities. They got all the remaining riders out of jail and into the streets, where several of them were promptly captured again because they had no disguises, and the guard were actively searching for the first 4 escapees. So we have, number 1, Duran was engaging in activities that would require stealth checks and perception checks without the player telling me, so he never made the checks. That's a big no-no. Number 2. He never told us how much Duran had followed Kiri. Had he gone into the jailhouse with her? Had he gone into the cell block and listened to Kiri whisper to the prisoners? That information would be useful. Now the next 2 are really interesting. Number 3, Kiri was invisible. In the jailhouse, with successful stealth checks, Duran never mentioned casting See Invisibility. See Invisibility was not on his typical spell list either, though Invisibility was. He would not have been able to watch Kiri. Finally, we have number 4, and this one's the big one. If he could not see Kiri, then how had he known what she had done in the jailhouse? I could invent a believable story, such as Duran waiting in the alley after Kiri turned invisible, and his knowledge of her actions came from listening invisibly to her talk to the rescued prisoners as she gave out disguises. But Duran's player had made no effort to tell such a story. Duran was just there and well informed about things he hadn't seen. Duran's player hates risking his characters, except when he forgets the risk. The jailhouse could have contained a serious threat, such as a 14th level Technic League Technomancer. Once Kiri proved it was safe, he wanted in. I suspect that if Kiri had run into a threat, Duran would have been safely at the inn all day rather than secretly following Kiri. Now, you see, in my opinion, this is kinda horrific because you don't quite know the implications this character or this player might have for the future of this group, especially if they've already formed a bond or something else, because that just seems very gross and weird, that kind of metagaming. I don't like it. Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again, checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell. Why? Because you get to get notified directly. That's you, all you listeners get to be notified specially. VIP access, anyone? When we make a new video, a premiere, go live, or a short. All the above. And if you'd like, please leave a comment down below because it helps the algorithm gods. But more so, it's easy access to us if you'd like to leave a story sharing your experiences with, well, the topic of the day, which today was about metagaming and the horrifying examples therein. Also, you can do so on our subreddit r/MrRipper, and you can come say hi to me personally, Brian Von VA, your lovely little narrator from Ohio, over on my website, brianvonva.com. Usually I'm over on Twitch. Come follow me on Twitch to say hi live, and I will always be there to be nice to you, I promise. As I always do, I try to end things on a positive note, and today is no different. I just want everyone to understand something, and this is coming deep from within my soul. I have dealt with a lot of problems since 2019, and I mean a lot of problems, mostly physical and mental. And that was ulcerative colitis. Ulcerative colitis is basically the ulceration of your bowels. Very fun. I'll talk about it some other day. But TLDR, or TLDL, I suppose, mind over matter exists. And when I started working for MrRipper, I was very ill, possibly dying. I had made the conscious choice to give up 29 years of pure anxiety, not even kidding, in one day. And I said, I'm done. I am done feeling anxious about things I can't control and people who hurt me or don't. What people do, I can't control. What other things happen in this world, I cannot control. What I can control is the most important thing that all of you listening, boys, girls, and everyone and anyone in between, can control too. Yourself. Your actions, your reactions are all under your control. Don't you let anyone take that away from you. You're all strong, you're all smart, you're just waiting for that one little push right over the cliff's edge to go for broke. Do it. You are in control and you always will be. I love you all and I'm rooting for all of you out there. Be safe, be happy. We'll see you next time.